everyone. I think I'm just gonna start billing myself as the only sane one on this broadcast.
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin.
There we go. Cranky isn't cranky anymore. Alyssa's cranky.
You know what I want to see in the forest? I want to see a unicorn. Want all you want. Wish in one hand, but poop in the other.
Well, hello, fellow addicts. Welcome back to Addicts Live, your internet escape from the craziness in the world. It's been a very long hiatus, too long, but the Addicts Crew is finally back again to bring you Simpsons news and Saturday Smiles. Pat, I know you missed that line.
Oh, yeah.
It's been so long since we've seen each other, so let me remind you of who we are, because you may not remember us. I'm Alissa, your resident head addict, and my co-hosts this week are the quarantined bubble boy bracket battle master himself, Super Safi.
Hello. It's nice to see you all from 6 feet away.
And the crankiest of us all, Patric.
I really do appreciate Safi saving us from computer viruses worldwide. This is good. What I'm hoping for is one sneeze. I want to see the reverse sneeze guard. That's what I'm after.
There's a reason why he's our favorite Canadian.
That's right.
He's just so polite. He's worried about saving us from computer viruses. So happy New Year, guys. Let me start by saying that, and there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now, but we're not going to talk about it because this is your internet escape from that. Oh, look, Safi's face. It's nice to see it. So we're gonna try to take you away from the craziness with our own craziness instead of adding to it. Let me also say that we took a very, very, very long COVID hiatus. At least from my own experience, it was pretty hard to find time to record a show with everyone in my house. And you know, that poses some problems, but we're back now, and my commitment to you guys is that we're going to give you more regular episodes of Addicts Live, even if that's just me talking to you for 45 minutes, because I can't get anybody else to do it with me. Also,
it's good. We have it out, Safi. We have it out. This is good.
Exactly. There we go.
Also, just an announcement. I'm promoting the heck out of our YouTube page right now. So if you haven't already, every year I pick a different thing I'm going to focus on with the site, and this year it's the YouTube page because it's been highly neglected for 8 years. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube page, and if you're watching this on the main site, I will put a link to the page in the show notes. And I'm also running a contest right now based on YouTube subscribers, so subscribe for your chance to win, and I'll also put a link to that contest in the show notes. Oh, and look for more YouTube content as well. I'm trying to do some more video stuff. Only because I think that would be easier for me to talk to a camera for 10 minutes than write a post some days.
And if you win, we'll send Safi live to your house to stand outside your window in full garb and wave. That's it. He won't talk. That's extra, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'll be 6 feet away. Don't worry.
At least 6 feet away. Yes.
So, with all that at the top being said, how are you guys? I haven't seen your faces in quite some time.
I think I'm pretty transparent in my Friday posts, so you know it's been a very long and kind of bumpy, rugged year. But you know, not that much different. I'm still here, and that's all you can say. I'm 67 now. I'm officially old. I'm officially into that older than 65 click. When they say 65 and older, it's not like, oh, I'm just 65. No, I'm 67 now. So there you go.
It's I remember when you turned 60.
I know. So, I do too.
It's been a while. Super Safi, how are you?
The same. I don't think anything happened in 2020, right? Oh, wait a second there. Let's see. I got married. I got stuck in the pandemic. Then came back after like 2 months out of the country. Then let's see, worked remotely for a while. Then started traveling again. Yeah, let's see. Then went on another vacation and quarantining again. So yeah, it's been a busy year.
So how do they treat that in Canada? So do you have to quarantine every time you go out of the country?
When I go for work, I'm working on the COVID vaccine studies. So I actually am considered an essential traveler. So I get an exemption for that. My most recent trip, though, over Christmas, New Year's, was a personal vacation that I went to the Caribbean for. And because that was a personal vacation, I have to quarantine for 2 full weeks.
So we have just so you know, folks, we have just now once again established that he is part of the CIA. And the deal is that he's on a COVID study, but he's studying how to give people COVID. That's why he wears the mask. It's backwards.
I'm all prepared. There you go.
There you go.
I'm going to represent the Jays too, right? So,
that's right. Nice.
Now, before we started recording, Pat and I were talking about the vaccine. Now, did you get the vaccine yet?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
So you're not that essential?
No, I'm not that essential.
It's okay for you to study it, but it's not okay for you to take it.
Actually, he's aware that the vaccine carries those chips that then make you a transmitter for 5G. So he's not going to get it anytime soon.
Listen, I welcome the 5G transmission in my home. My cell service here is pretty bad. So
That's right. I wouldn't mind it except the whole glowing in the dark part. It's just like, it's hard enough to get to bed at night. So,
well, Mr. Burns used to go on Friday night, so why not?
That's right. That's right. Oh God. Yeah.
So
what a world.
That's. I feel like that's been the quote for the last 11 months. Somebody. I saw somebody comment that said, "Well, if anybody thought 2021 wouldn't be a crap show, you sadly were mistaken." And I was like, "Well, in all fairness, 2020 really didn't start to be a crap show until like late February, so we're still in a year."
Right.
So
this
I
is
still consider
hangover.
this 2021 hangover, so we're good.
This is just like what happens when you remove some big stained blob of something off of a floor that you find, and you pull it off and you think you got it all, and you come back a week later, there's a little bit more still growing there. It's that thing. You keep pulling it off and then it grows a little bit more. So
for me, it was really around March 9th, I believe it was, when the NBA and NHL went into lockdown.
There you go.
That's when Tom Hanks got diagnosed. I'm telling you, Tom Hanks was the kingpin in all this. Tom Hanks getting COVID shut down everything.
That was around the same day, actually. And yeah, I remember I was working in Boston that day. And I mean, it's been a busy year already. Like, that was the 70th day of the year, and I had taken my 47th flight already. And then all of a sudden they ground us. And yeah, from May 9th until September, I didn't take any flights at all. So it was, it was a really weird year.
Is the baseball season even over yet?
Baseball,
I mean, it's one of those things where like hockey, baseball, basketball, depending on which bubble you were watching, it all ran together for me. It was like, are they still playing this sport? I don't know.
Well, as a sports fan, I mean, we had one amazing day a couple of months ago where for the first time in history, you had the MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL, Major League Soccer, and the WNBA all playing on the same day. It was just like
and the Canadian curling championships, right?
Yeah, they were not happy.
And axe throwing.
That's right.
I will say, everybody, and I know this isn't the point of the show, but hey, we haven't seen each other in a while. I will say everybody knows what a big baseball fan I am. The antics of the players, the owners, and the commissioner of baseball last year getting that season started disgusted me so much. I don't think I watched a baseball game last year. I was so disgusted with how they acted, how they all behaved, and just their nonsense for no reason, that I just said, forget it. I'm not watching a game. And my husband was happy because then he didn't have to watch any Yankee games. So
didn't the union try and lobby to be able to spit or something like that? We still want to spit, damn it.
It was all kinds of They complained about the number of games, but then they ended up playing the number. It was so stupid. It just was.
It's still continuing this season.
Yep.
With number of games, 162 versus 140. The debate's continuing. So yeah.
And this year it'll be more on the owners if that happens. And I'm still pretty ticked. I'm also mad. I'll get off my baseball soapbox in a second, but I'm also mad that if anybody follows the Houston Trash Tros and their cheating debacle, you will know that Alex Cora was suspended for a year because of the treatment, because of his involvement in Astrogate, and he then serves his suspension, which he has every right to do, and then the Red Sox seemingly rehire him like nothing's wrong. So you know what message that sends to kids? That sends to kids, it's okay to cheat. You may serve a little slap on the wrist, but hey, you can go back to making millions of dollars as soon as your suspension's over.
You know who pulled that off, though, is the trash can lobby. They that's to me, the funniest part of the entire debacle, the big deal, was that they were doing it with a trash can. It was like, how low tech can you get? You're cheating. It's like how long did it take people to go, that trash can only goes when I step up to the plate? That's weird. And there's nobody in the stands. Who's doing the trash can thing?
Ray Patterson, baby.
God, it was unbelievable. I just thought this is as low as sports can get. This is as low tech as sports can get. At least Belichick hired people to use video cameras to steal signs.
Well, they used it the most against the Blue Jays that season. So yeah, it was definitely a stinger. There's someone who's literally tracked how many times you can hear the can in each game that season, and yeah, the highest numbers were against the Jays.
They should be embarrassed.
And they're not. That's the thing. No, they don't even care. They they're all over it. So it's disgusting.
They're doing what they can. They got Dusty Baker as their manager now to just kind of smooth things over a little bit. Public perception. I mean, it's hard to hate Dusty Baker. I mean, I was gonna hate the Astros so much, but I mean, Dusty's like one of those guys that you kind of always root for. But yeah, it's hard to. That was smart on their part. I don't know if it was a good managerial decision, but like from a fan standpoint, like trying to get people not to like boo them consistently.
Well, they didn't have to worry; they didn't have any fans there, so yeah, that's no problem.
They're still gonna feel the boos once the crowd starts. So yeah.
Yeah, the electronic boos. That's my favorite thing. I mean, I don't know who's running the Foley sounds for the football, but it is hilarious to me. It just cracks me up. And we were watching the Pac-12, and they had actually gone out of the way to get sounds from U of O, so it sounded like U of O, kinda, but then they'd trigger them wrong, and it was just like, oh God, it's so pathetic. But anyway,
well,
we weren't that good.
As my job is here, even though I'm the one who took us off the tracks, let's put us back on the tracks. Yeah. This is our first episode back since March, I think 10th. So, or maybe a little bit before. I think you were traveling in our last episode. Yeah. So, in this first episode back is our 2020 year in review. Since we only talked about the first event of 2020, which was Black History Month, and a brief Addicts Live we did before the world ended. We got to break everything else down. Time to know our opinions about everything. So, and as I always say, we can't look forward until we've fully criticized the past. So let's break them down.
Wow, you got to write that down.
It's my line. You can't look forward until you fully criticize the past. What?
I think we could shorten this really quickly. We could do were there any ones you liked, and what were the ones you really hated, and then we're done. It's like that fast.
So the difference between 2020 and 2019 and TSTO is we actually had a steady stream of events. 2019 was awful. We actually were shortened by, I think, 1 or 2 events. So the nice thing about 2020 was it provided some stability in a very unsteady world. So the first event and no surprise, every event was the same. 4 acts, a little bit longer than 4 weeks. Like everyone was 5 weeks this time. Good storylines, characters, no crafting, no neighbors, all the stuff everybody complains about. But hey, at least we had updates. The first event of 2020, the first major event of 2020, was Black History Month, which ran from February 5th to March 12th. This was the first event of 2020, as I said, and everything centered around Dr. Hibbert, Carl, Lou, and a little history lesson from the Simpsons family and Virgil Simpson. I could read the overview from EA. Actually, this one's not too bad. It is a lot, though. So for those who don't remember, Black History Month, Springfield's first official celebration of Black History Month, Mayor Quimby taps three of Springfield's most prominent Black citizens, okay, the only three he actually knows, to share their personal stories. They are joined by Grandpa Simpson with a surprise story about a forgotten cultural hero with an important impact on modern Springfield and this game. 4 stories were told throughout this. Act 1 followed Dr. Hibbert, Act 2 followed Carl, Act 3 followed Lou, and Act 4 followed Abe in a story about Virgil Simpson and the Underground Railroad. The prize track included 5 new characters: Clarissa Wellington, Abraham Simpson, the First, Opal, and the Bully Boss, and Virgil Simpson. The rest of the prize track was mostly decorations and some animated tasks for characters. Premium characters were Dr. Hibbert's father, who I think is great, Stogie, the Patriarch, and Mabel Simpson. And this was the first event of the year, and it was the first event where instead of it being 1 act per week, 4 weeks long, it was still 4 acts, but it was 5 weeks long.
Right.
Thoughts on Black History Month?
I think when we talked about it the first time, I liked it, and I haven't changed my mind. I mean, it wasn't my favorite of the year, but I thought that as we will say repeatedly throughout this broadcast, the writing was very good. The storyline was very good. The prizes were unique. It was interesting the way they did the whole Virgil Simpson thing. I thought it was okay. It was good.
Yeah, I'll agree for the most part. The only thing I'll disagree with when Pat says it's not his favorite, I would say it was my favorite or tied with my favorite of the year. Just in the sense that, I mean, you got so many characters, no skins, no costumes. It was 5 freemium characters plus some premium characters, and all like really nice classic characters from good episodes.
You can't say tied. This is a Canadian thing. You never want to upset anybody, so you can't. It's either your favorite or you're not favorite. There's no in between. Pregnant, not pregnant. Dead, alive. No, that one's shaky.
Just mostly dead.
Yeah, mostly dead.
There's coma. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, I was really happy with that event, and looking back at it, I mean, all the events, like you mentioned, they were the same. The nice thing about this year, there was very little gaps, very little downtimes. The 5 weeks really did make it keep going. The storyline, definitely writing was great in each of them. This one, it was nice that it was each week, it felt like 4 little mini events.
Yeah.
That each storyline was in itself kind of, we talked about that last year, actually, that it would be good where they could just kind of bring in a few different storylines that kind of have one generic theme together. And that's what the Black History event did. And it did it really well. So it was like the EA was actually listening to us. So yeah, I really liked that event.
And I'm going to agree with Safi and not say it's tied for my favorite, but I do think, and I may change. I reserve the right to change my mind as we go through these a little bit more, because I think this was my favorite event of the year.
Major event,
event, right? Yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right.
From a purely game-centered point of view, like it had the best characters, it had the most characters, the decorations were decent. I mean, nothing was really like superb on the decoration building front, but it was decent. The storyline was nice to follow. It wasn't anything odd. Even though they're like, some of the characters were older characters, like Virgil Simpson and Mabel Simpson, like older in time. Hell, we have future Marge and future Homer. Why not have their original ancestors to the family? So I did.
George Washington.
Don't get me started.
So I did really like this one, and that may just be the pre-COVID talking. But I do think it probably was the best event of the year, in my opinion. Quick letter grade, Pat?
If I have to do I can't.
You can do plus or minus if you want.
I'll go A minus, because it was right there. It was right there, but it wasn't my favorite, because it can't be 2 favorites.
Okay.
Okay. A minus.
I'm gonna go with just a solid A.
Okay. I give it an A. Yeah, I agree with that. And which is a change because I think the last couple of years, the first event of the year, I hated. So hey, look at that.
There you go.
The
Just
second
downhill from there. Get ready, folks. None of them match this.
The second major event of 2020 was Simpsons Wrestling, which ran from April 8th to May 13th. This centered around the world-class wrestling with a mix of old-school wrestlers and new-school wrestlers. The overview synopsis from EA was, Mr. Burns has purchased world-class wrestling and is making the wrestlers do things his way. But things take a turn when Springfield goes crazy for a hipper, more extreme wrestlers, who soon have the run of the whole town. Follow along as the fate of Springfield comes down to a battle royale between Burns' old-school wrestlers and the new crew created by Burns' arch-rival, Aristotle. Can Bart's wrestling hero, Dr. Bonebreak, save the day? The prize track included prize tracks, I should say, since there were 4 of them. 3 full characters, which were Captain Flag, Bonebreak, and Iron Yuppie. 1 costume for Grandpa Simpson, Honest Abe. And there was a variety of decorations and buildings that fit into the wrestling theme, mostly wrestling rings. How many wrestling rings do we need? The premium characters included Professor Werner von Braun, Rumbelina, Beefy Bishop, and Rasputin, the friendly Russian. There were no other major changes to the game with that update. So thoughts? Let's start with Saf on this one.
I mean, it was just the exact same format as Black Friday, with fewer premium characters. The characters was probably the best part of it. I mean, some of those characters, I liked those episodes. But again, a lot of the other decorations, like we got so many boxing mats, wrestling mats, how many more do you need? The story writing was good, but it felt like it was a little bit more dragged out. Whereas with Black Friday, like I mentioned, like you had 4 different stories that kind of shared a theme. This just seemed like one really long, dragged out story. So it was an average event. It was, I wouldn't say it was a bad event, but it was not nearly as good as Black Friday.
Of course you wouldn't say it's a bad event. You can't say it's a bad event. So I'll say it for you. It was a bad event. No, it was, for me, I went from almost my favorite to my least favorite. It should have been a mini event. It didn't have enough anything to make sense for me. And, again, the repetitive nature of the rings and I'm not a fan of the open building deal. So like the barber shop where the guy's standing out in the middle of nowhere in an open building. It's like, what? It doesn't, no. Make a building or it's not a building, but that's stupid. So anyway, I mean, it's all the way around. I didn't like it. It's just easy to cut it off. In
this case, I agree with Pat.
Yes.
I think this probably was my least favorite event. Again, I reserve the right to change my mind because I actually think Game of Games may be my least favorite event. So this is my second least favorite event of 2020. There wasn't enough to it for me. I'm not a big wrestling fan. I did, however, enjoy the banner artwork Pat made for us for this one. That was fun. That was probably the best part of the event for me.
There you go.
But yeah, there was nothing that really made it like pop for me. It was just kind of there. And again, this could also just be like right in the thick of COVID kind of talking. Like from what I remember about the event, it was just like a crappy time. So that could be playing an impact. But for me, I'm just really not into the wrestling stuff. So it didn't really do anything for me. There weren't enough characters to really bring it up. And again, how many wrestling rings do you need in Springfield, especially when a character can't even use them properly? Like, it's one thing if you can have the characters use them and show like a wrestling match in it, but I don't know. I felt like that was a waste of space. Most of that stuff is in my inventory. So
I agree with you. Very lazy. I mean, the skateboard bowl, you can skateboard. A lot of the stuff from there's all kinds of things that they've animated, and there was just nothing outside of the one guy, Bonebreak or whatever, throwing things out of his barber shop. I don't even remember who. I mean, that's how I don't even remember the character.
Isn't that the Beefy Bishop?
Yeah, probably. It's probably the Beefy. I don't even care. That's how much I don't care. I stuck all of it off in a clump way off to the right of my town. It's all sitting in a clump kind of at this point. So if you want to go see it, you can.
All right. Letter grades. Pat.
D.
Saf.
B-.
I would give it a C-, I think. All right. The third event, we're moving right along here. The third event of 2020 was the Game of Games sequel, probably the least anticipated sequel in TSTO history. This ran from June 10th to July 16th. Again, another 4-act, 5-week multi-event. This was a sequel to last year's Game of Games. The overview synopsis from EA is: a mysterious gamer appears in Springfield and claims the Evergreen Terror's entire world is a simulation, and he is the admin game master behind it all. The Evergreen Terrors must fight in each game over the high
school. She's being taken over, folks. Her mind is being taken over.
Yes, so simulation. This is all a simulation.
That's right. There we go.
Milo's wrecking me. Take over the high score leaderboards to prevent the game master from destroying Springfield as they know it. The prize track included no new characters. There were 4 costumes for the existing characters in Springfield: the game master, who is for Milo; Pirate Nelson, you can figure out who he's for; Cleric Marge, again, you can figure out; and Lady Millhouse, as well as a variety of mostly decorations that fit into the gaming theme. There were a couple of buildings on the prize track: Captain Blips and Toys R Us. Premium characters included Strawberry, Wally Weasel, Cosine Tangent, and Huge Ass. Again, there were no major changes with this event. It was just your standard 4-act, 5-week multi-event for 2020. Thoughts, Pat?
This almost made the lowest bottom for me because it just didn't. Again, the writing was decent. It kind of was the only thing I looked forward to. I really didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about the stuff. And I admit, by this point, I was really grumbling a lot about the item limits. And so for me to have to figure out where I was going to put stuff I didn't want, it's like, why am I going to all this trouble to do something I'm just going to store or put over there by the barbershop and the wrestling rink? So I just didn't care at that point. So, it may have been COVID related, but no, I don't think so. It just didn't have enough juice.
Saf.
For me, there were only 2 positives with this. This was my least favorite event of the year.
We found one, Pat. We found one.
Yes. He's going to give it a B-, not a C.
You spoiled my grade already.
I know.
The writing was solid year-round, so that's just the general theme for the year. So the writing was one of the good parts. The other part was the premium characters, Huge Ass and Wally Weasel, Cosine. Cosine was on my bracket battle, so and so was Hugh, I think.
He was.
Yeah, so those were pretty much the only but for most players who are not playing premium and are just relying on premium currency, 0 characters in an event. Come on, guys. You go 5 weeks and you get 0 characters. It was by far my least favorite event in a long time, actually.
This was my least favorite of the year. No new characters. Just kills it for everyone. Similar to Game of Games, I did not enjoy Game of Games last year, but at least Game of Games had a little more content in it. This was bad. This was like a crap sandwich. It just wasn't enjoyable. The only saving grace for this was getting to say Huge Ass. That's just a fun name to say. And his tasks are fun. So that is a fun character, but it was a guild character, so it was more expensive than your standard premium character. But Huge Ass was the saving grace of Game of Games, the sequel. Otherwise, it was not good. Let's do letter grade.
I think that whole. I'll give it a D+ because it wasn't my very worst of the year, but yeah.
Saf.
I'll give it a D, solid D.
Yes. I've got to his heart. I've blackened his heart. Yes.
And
I would lower if it wasn't for the premium characters, Cosine, but yeah, that's pretty much the only saving grace.
I'm right there with you. I give it a D as well. Like I said, Huge Ass was the saving grace.
Yeah.
Cosine, Wally, Strawberry too, but that was pretty much it.
The premiums were nice, but again, they are premiums, so it's you know. All right. The fourth major event of 2020 was a summer of Millhouse. Everything was coming up Millhouse in the Van Houten's event. This ran from August 12th to September 16th. The synopsis from EA on this was when Millhouse's older, cooler cousin Annika comes to Springfield for Millhouse's birthday, Millhouse asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend so he can be more popular at school. After she begrudgingly agrees, his plan yields great success and he quickly becomes the most popular boy in Springfield Elementary. Bart has a hard time adjusting and is resentful of Millhouse no longer being available to hang out, so he promptly gets to work sabotaging Millhouse's newfound popularity. However, every time he tries to make Millhouse uncool, it backfires and only makes Millhouse cooler. Meanwhile, Lisa can't suppress her jealousy any longer and eventually starts dating Millhouse. When the kids see Lisa dating the coolest kid in school, they crown her as the coolest girl in school. However, after Millhouse takes her on a few dates with his relatives, Lisa quickly realizes she's made a mistake and breaks up with him, resulting in both of them going back to their uncool selves, and things return to normal. The prize track included 2 full characters, Annika and Grandma Van Houten, and 2 costumes for Millhouse, Cool Millhouse and Italian Millhouse, as well as a couple of thematically helpful buildings and decorations, including Nana Sophie's Vineyard and Little Italy. Premium characters included Kirkademius, Milhouse, Milford Van Houten, Grandpa Van Houten, and Secretary Van Houten. Houten or Houten? Houten.
Yes.
Houten.
As if you're from Canada or not. Everything's hoot there.
Again, nothing new was added as far as gameplay with this. It was their standard 4-act, 5-week multi-event. So I think Safi, your turn to go first.
Yep.
So I mean, here I love the story. I mean, the writing was great year round, but like this was my favorite. I mean, the way that they kind of just like had Millhouse progress through the 4 weeks was hilarious. I really liked having all the Van Houten family members join the game. So this was actually tied for my favorite. It didn't have as many premium characters, but freemium characters, just the 2. But the decorations, the Little Italy and Nana's farm were just absolutely gorgeous and really nice and easy to incorporate with other parts. So while the freemium characters were lower, the quality of the buildings and decorations in this event was the best of the year, and the writing was by far the best of the year. So this was tied as my favorite.
You can't be tied. How many times do I have to say this? So was it better than the other one?
Yeah, I had to have a shootout then, like prior to 2004, we used to have ties in hockey. So I grew up with ties.
Everyone's a winner.
Wow. All right. Well, I actually agree with Saf mostly. I got annoyed that the predictability was you knew that Millhouse was going to blow up somehow. There was something. It's like, does the kid never get a break? I did like the backstory. I'll this is tangentially here. This last episode of The Simpsons, with the backstory with comic book guy. Oh no, he hasn't seen it. So as far as the writers actually giving people backstory and context, I'm always down for that, because after 30 years, you'd think you know everything about everybody. No, you don't. I mean, they keep finding these nuggets of fun that make it worthwhile. So for me, that was all story. The characters kind of went along with the story, but it was all story, and it was good story. It was a good storyline. It was very funny.
I think, Pat,
I laughed a lot.
You just said something that I feel like I want to coin that phrase: nugget of fun.
There we go.
We should have a little corner of the site called Nuggets of Fun.
We could sell them online. We could make them prizes. What's in the nugget? Don't look. That's not fun.
No, yeah. But right, like they've been doing with the episodes, it was nice that they could actually go back and dig deeper into the Millhouse character. And I haven't seen this past Sunday's episode. Unfortunately, I was out of the country. But when you look at some of the episodes they've had this season, I mean, the last episode, or maybe 2 episodes before the fall finale, it was a full episode on Skinner and Chalmers and their relationship. and Homer, Marge, and Maggie did not appear in the episode until the credits. It was just like, I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yeah.
And Bart and Lisa were in it for 30 seconds at most. So, previously, prior to that, they had another episode that was similar, where the emphasis was not on The Simpsons. So it's been a theme this season, and I feel like the game's been doing the same as well a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's not so much for me that they're not doing The Simpsons, but it's going back to the original kind of writing that they did in the first golden era of The Simpsons, where they kept with one theme and kept it tighter and told the story better than diverging all over the place. And I think that that's what I liked about the writing in this event, was that I was actually, when it was done, I was like, oh, it was actually good. It was really fun to read. I was looking forward to it.
Though one of my favorite episodes is when they do diverge into multiple stories and you get your 20-plus short stories. That was a classic episode too. So
I enjoyed this event. It wasn't my favorite. It was kind of like close to middle of the road, a little bit higher. The storylines were great. Milhouse was my favorite. But it was fun. I agree with Safi in the sense that the Vineyard and Little Italy were really nice buildings, easy to incorporate with already existing stuff we'd gotten from previous around the world events. So that was nice. And it's also nice having Milhouse's grandparents in Springfield, the ones that aren't so abusive.
I still like the abusive ones too, though. That lady hits everybody.
So that was good. Letter grades, Pat.
That was a solid A.
Okay. Saf?
Yeah, same, solid A.
Yeah, I would give it an A. I don't have many complaints about it. I will say one con with that was the 2 costumes for Milhouse. I understand they help Milhouse's character and everything, but that's always a bummer to get on a prize track. 2 costumes for the same character, because you can only use one at a time.
Yeah, you often forget that you even have them. I mean, and some of these have so many costumes or skins, you forget they're even there until they, you're cycling through and you go, oh, that's right. That's right. He has a hat. Cool. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, one of the that I have making this tied for
not COVID.
Also, that Milhouse is my favorite character. So, I mean, I love Milhouse. Everything's coming up Milhouse. Or remember that one time your dog ate my fish? And you tried to convince me I didn't have the fish. Well, why did I have the bull, Bart? Why did I have the bull? You gotta love Milhouse.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he is the everyman.
So let's talk about Halloween. Halloween was the 5th event in 2020, and it saw a hellish sight. Very fitting for this year. It ran from October 14th to November 18th. I will say the synopsis from EA for this is really long, so I'm going to try to give you guys the Cliff Notes version. Basically, Skinner and Mayor Quimby, they sold their soul to the devil to get new equipment for the schools. In exchange for the redistricting results, Bart is sent to elementary school, where he soon finds himself as the star. Jealous of the praise Bart's getting, Lisa sneaks into hell and finds that the devil intends to keep Bart forever. So he makes a deal with Lisa, telling Lisa that if she fails at her classes, she and Bart can return to their normal lives after the school year is over. But if she passes, she and Bart will be stuck in hell forever. Of course, for Lisa, that's difficult to do. And, other fun Simpson craziness ensues between Homer going to hell to try to get his kids back. In the end, Lisa passes, and Old Scratch Glows tells the Simpsons to make themselves at home, and which they do, soon driving him so crazy, he says, get the hell out. So these prize tracks, again, this was a 4-act multi-event, ran 5 weeks. This prize track included 2 new characters, the Hell Teacher and Hell Principals. And there were 2 new costumes, Bezelbart, and Lisa Fur. And new hellish-themed buildings and decorations were added as well. Premium characters included Old Scratch, Torture Coach, Demon Mo, and the Demon Technician. Notable changes to the game with this one. Item limits were finally increased, albeit only by 1,000. They went from 13,000 to 14,000.
Only? Wow.
I immediately saw people complaining within like 2 weeks of that. When are they gonna update the item limits again?
People are idiots. Let's just cop to it. People are idiots. So, sorry.
So Pat, I think it's your turn to go.
So this was one of those that I think it was because of where I was. We were going through a lot with the family, a lot of crazy stuff going on. So I wasn't playing it super tight, but once I got the item limits, I was free. And so mostly what I remember about this was just doing a ton of rearranging and being able to set up stuff. And I had a lot of extra land, and I just went nuts. As far as design, not COVID. It's I have half swallowed some pop. Anyway,
swallowed pot?
Pot, yeah. It's legal in Oregon.
Sounds very dangerous.
Anyway, no. No, I was kind of at this place where the hell thing, it's like they did an okay job with it. I like some of the animation. Some of the decorations had some really funny animation, but I don't know, it got very diluted and running around and all over the place with who was in hell, who wasn't in hell, who was good, who was bad, what they had to do. To me, it felt very scattered, but that's probably where I was personally. So it's one of my in-betweens. It wasn't my worst, it wasn't my favorite.
In-betweener.
A tweener. Yep.
Saf?
Yeah, same. Actually, it was the middle of the road for me as well. Like when you've been playing this game for such a long time, it's really not easy to like forget about the past years. And the Halloween event has always been like the hallmark of the year. So when you think about the glory days, like the Halloween events, the first few were like the best events. I mean, up there with the Stonecutter event. So it's really hard to forget about those earlier Halloween events. But it was better than some recent Halloween events we've had. But just in general, it was an average event all around. I mean, I wasn't too excited about anything, but I wasn't really too disappointed about anything either. It was,
I thought it was tone deaf. I thought it was tone deaf during the middle of COVID to have the hell theme. That's all. I was just thinking maybe they probably wrote this a long time ago, but even a long time ago we still had COVID. So it's like, I don't know, man. But no, I mean the item limit thing. I'm just going to come back on that. 1,000 items after I had been hoarding and moving and pulling stuff here and there to be able to do anything in my game for over a year. I was elated. I couldn't believe it when they did 1,000. I was totally jacked, and I'm nowhere near. I think I have like, even with all my designing, I think I still have like 9. Probably like 800. I probably have 800 left that I can play with. So, yay.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I had a lot of people complaining almost immediately, which always blows my mind because I've never even gotten an item limit warning. So I'm always like, how? I've been playing this game for 8 years. How are you at the item limits?
I got mine for the first time with the burning bushes.
Yeah, you did buy a lot of those. My take on Halloween was... This was kind of like a Halloween letdown for me. Like it wasn't as good. The storyline wasn't as tight as I feel like they usually are for Halloween. It was harder for me to kind of get into it. I felt like a lot of the stuff, while it all fit together, like thematically for that event, it didn't really fit into my Springfield well. So the vast majority of it, and I said this in all my Should I Buy posts, I bought it and then I stored it. I didn't need the characters walking around. So many characters in my Springfield, it didn't matter to me that if they were there or not. And the items just didn't seem to really work well in my Springfield. So I wasn't a huge fan. I enjoyed other Halloweens much better. I'm also not a big fan of Halloween, so that could play into it as well. But it just wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't my least favorite event of the year, but it was probably slightly worse than middle of the road. Letter grades, Saf.
Letter grade, sorry, someone was at the door. Letter grade, for this, I would give it a B minus. Yeah.
Pat?
Yeah, justifiably so. No, I would give it. I would have given it a C, except for the item limits. That carried it for me, so I'm going to give it a B minus too. I'll go with Saf. I will say though, you're talking about all the characters. I'm actually in a place now where we've been playing so long that I now will go along and I'm trying to find characters to do stuff, and it's like, who is that again? What I mean, there's so many that it's just like, yeah, I don't know. And then they still have skins for 35 skins for some of the main characters. Anyway, go ahead. I digress.
I would give it a C minus because it's not a C to me is middle of the road, so I would give it a C minus.
Okay.
All right, Clash of Creeds, the sixth and final major event of 2020, which is what we're currently in now. This runs from December 9th to January 13th of 2021. The overview on this is when the Movementarians return to Springfield just before Christmas, Homer gets sucked into the cult again in hopes of taking the leader's spaceship to Blistonia. Marge and Flanders try to save Homer from the cult, but the Movementarians are too crafty, so they have to enlist the help of Rabbi Kristofsky. The rabbi calls in big guns for help, Yahweh and Moses. Moses ends up falling into the cult himself. Baby Jesus shows up to see what's ruining his birthday and catches the eye of King Herod, who wants to finish the job he never could before. Welcome to the Sacrilegious Christmas 2020. The prize track included 2 new characters, Krusty Claus and Moses, 1 new costume, Sexy Santa Marge, and loads of holiday religious themed decorations in a couple of buildings. Premium characters included the leader, Baby Jesus, King Herod, Yahweh, and Andre. Andre is the guild deal in this particular one. Notable changes to the game, nothing significant. Snow came back to Springfield. Again, it wasn't falling snow, but there was snow around. And Yahweh is the first character in Springfield to earn donuts via his task list. Other than that, that's all with that one.
Okay, I'm just going to say, I go ahead. I think it's Safi's turn, but I'm just going to say because it's stuck in my head. Why is Yahweh not giving out bagels? I don't get it. That makes no sense to me at all. Go ahead, Saf.
So, I mean, there's always a recency bias when we do these year reviews with the most recent event, the ongoing event every year. And, I mean, right now, looking at it, for me, this is the middle of the road event as we're sitting in here. I'm a little disappointed with the freemium giveaways in this event. The decorations and the buildings I'm not really that impressed with. I'm really excited about the premium characters, though, with this event. It was also one of the best premium character collections of the year. That was probably the best part of it, getting Yahweh and the leader, Baby Jesus, King Herod, and Andre with the guild deal. So that was probably the best part of it, but overall, I would just say so far it's a middle of the road event.
Pat.
He's
speechless, folks. He's speechless.
No, I'm trying to put it without offending anyone. This is the funniest writing to me of the year because it is so like machine gun everything that's moving religious and cults and Scientology. This is why I was really hoping Joe would make it tonight, because I think they're doing this because Joe made fun of the Scientologists for so long. But I think the writing is hilarious, and there's so many little. If you click through quickly, you really miss a lot of little subtle stuff. There is some really funny double hits and double this and double that about quantum theory, and I mean, it's really funny. But I find that I find all of that texturally funny anyway. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at all of these team sport religions. But I guess where I am is like, why not? We have so many, now that we've broken all the rules with time space and we have multiple characters walking around of the same age and different ages and whatever, same people, why not bring God and Yahweh into this? And I am writing about it in my Friday filler this week, because the debate this week, debate between Yahweh and God, just made me laugh. It's like, okay, wait a minute, wait. Let's go back and try and figure this out chronologically. So it's great fun. I mean, I think the writing is as good as it gets, and why not have God and Yahweh running around? This is hilarious. I think if we had hell and several demons, we have to have more heaven. And another angel. So it's fine. I like it. I like it a lot.
I agree with Pat in the sense that the dialogue is really fun. It is a really funny event. It's really good writing. It makes me laugh. There's a lot of funny twists and turns, and I like how storylines run into each other. So you've got like crossover with Moses and Yahweh, and then you've got there's a lot of crossover, and it's fun. Right. So I really like that. I am disappointed by the prize track in the sense that there's just not enough characters for me. But I love Christmas. I'm never going to say anything bad about a Christmas event except for I don't even see. I blocked it out of my brain. The whatchamacallit.
Don't even say it. It's over.
Everybody knows which one I'm talking about.
So I know it's over. Yeah.
I can't have blocked it out of my brain. Right. So I really enjoyed it. I am enjoying it. We still have another week left to play of it, but it's fun.
I think the defense of not as many characters is that the supreme beings are bigger, so you get twice as many pixels. But then also, when you're dealing with supreme beings, everything else is lesser anyway. So supreme is about as you can get, good as you can get. It'd be like ordering a 5-scoop ice cream cone and then going back the next day and complaining when you got a 2-scoop ice cream cone. It's like, no, the 5-scoop's gonna win. It's going to win no matter how you look at it. It's twice as big, and it was the original.
And it comes with 5 fingers.
That's right.
And I will say, I'm very glad that Yahweh is not a guild deal, and he's cheaper than God.
Yeah.
God was a bit expensive. Granted, it is God. I'm not going to tell you not to get God.
But
Yahweh being with 250, I think it was, is not, or 275 is not a bad deal, especially considering you run through his task list. It'll take you some time, but you run through it and you'll earn 7 donuts. I probably won't do that very often, but it's nice to know it's there.
I just think that the dialogue this week with Moses, Yahweh, God, talking about it was classic. I was in a week that I really needed to laugh. There was a couple times I just would sit there and just laugh and go back and wish that I had screen grabbed it, and I did. I screen grabbed a bunch of them because I just wanted to go back and read them again. So it was very funny.
One little thing that just made it a little bit disappointing. I mean, as our readers know, we have an NDA with EA, so we kind of get these packages beforehand. It kind of gave us the impression, at least to me, that there'd be riddles kind of in the vein of Stonecutters. So having those daily tasks where you just click and it tells you which characters to send, that was a little bit of a letdown. So that's probably also a little reason why it's not as higher in my gratings.
You're giving it a fist. You're giving it a shaking fist.
Don't call it a riddle. It's just a daily
true.
Yeah, I think they're really struggling to try and do something different, and they're using existing programming to try and make something different out of existing programming.
They're
really
trying
tough.
to put lipstick on a pig.
Right. But I have
3-legged pig.
Premium characters from previous events, so there's only one item in my mystery box, or maybe 2. So the rest of the tokens have just been donuts. So this is given a lot of donuts. So that's also been a nice little perk for those people who have a lot of the buildings and characters from previous events.
And we're forgetting perhaps the most important thing. For a day and a half, the Burning Bush was available for $500 in cash and gave you a 0.5% bonus, which is a really good deal. I mean,
I can't believe how many people bought 500 of them.
Safi, when the Wailing Walls came back for cash, Safi was so upset that he missed it. He sent me his cell phone number and said, next time something like this happens, text me. I don't care if I'm at work. Text me. So I texted him, and he was very happy. So I know Safi's one of those people.
Reviewing data and tapping with one hand.
How many did you buy, Safi?
10,000.
What?
That's why he's at his item limit.
Where do you even put that many burning bushes?
In my
They don't take up much
storage.
space. They're one by one.
Oh, they're in your storage. You just kind of keep pulling them out. Wow. That takes a long time. That's a long time. I hope that you didn't make any errors on the COVID review that carried a 0. You know, it's like
the burning bushes were available for, like you said, a day and a half, so there was ample time to get them. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I don't think I bought any.
At the hotel in the evening, I was literally just watching TV and just tapping away and collecting thousands of them.
It's really weird. I have gotten, and again, I think this is probably the thing comes with age, is that I've gotten to that point where enough is really a word that I use a lot at this point now. And so I get enough donuts from farming when I want to farm using your technique, Saf, that I don't even think about the bonus and the multipliers. In fact, when I boosted it up with a bunch of wailing walls at one point, it was really annoying to me that every 2 clicks I had to go figure out and click. So now it's like I think I get maybe 30 every cycle, and that's enough. You know, that's enough.
Having Quickie Mart farmed or Bloodmobile thingamabob, whatever you want to call it,
Quickie Mart.
At all in 2020 or 2021, I've completely stopped. I keep my generator collider on, XP collider on, nonstop. It's been on for 2.5 years or whatever. I just keep that running, and just the daily tasks that I do and collecting income from buildings generates enough donuts that I can pay off the premium characters that come with each event.
Yeah.
So it really got annoying. It's absolutely true. Like I would click on one Quickie Mart and have to do like 3 or 4 of those donut things. So I was like, I'm just gonna stop.
And then their servers couldn't handle it. So I mean, I think a lot of these people are going to find out that they're going to get to that place where you try and redeem and you keep getting booted. You know, and that's where I was. Is it's like, okay, I don't want to keep doing this. It's taking me a half an hour to get 80 donuts or whatever. Who cares?
And without farming or Bloodmobile or Rat Trap farming or Quickie Mart farming, my donuts has been at a steady 35,000 donuts plus or minus like 1,000. Not even a plus or minus 1,000, plus or minus like maybe a couple hundred over the past year. Like it does not change at all.
35,000. Okay. Okay. Let me go back to the word enough. Now, so here's the deal. So every time we have an event, I have figured this out, that the most you're going to spend on premiums is maybe, even if you get all of them and the guild deal, maybe 700 donuts. Maybe.
Yeah,
right?
Was the highest this year.
Okay. So you have 35,000. You're really good at math. How many events do you have for? So I get it. So I'm the opposite. I keep myself at right around 900, between 800 and 900. I burn them off during the event, and then I build them up during that 2-week period or whatever. And then I sit. I'm fine. Enough. 35,000.
Yeah, I mean, well, I used to farm and got up to that amount, and then I was like, I'm never going to use these. So then I just stopped farming, and I stopped. And now, as I said, like without farming the whole year plus, I think it's been 1.5 years since I farmed. My levels stay pretty much steady as is, just for collecting income and doing tax.
Yeah, you're like that. You're like the carpenter that saves a spare nail out of every project. Pretty soon he's got 17,000 nails, and then he retires, and he doesn't know what to do with all the nails. So.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. That's carpenter.
I mean, I thought I had a lot, and I'm still, you guys know I'm not a donut farmer. I don't, right. I'll have my collider on. I have wailing walls, so I'll run through a cycle of collecting Skyfinger, and I'll get like 24 donuts every cycle. But I still am a dinosaur in the sense that I buy my donuts. So I actually am probably solely supporting this game at this point. No, the last time I
Gotta be
think it was
more than
Halloween, they
50,
offered a bonus when you bought donuts. When you bought 100 donuts, you got to pay. So I have like close to 10,000 donuts in that regard, and I thought I had a lot of donuts, but 35,000. Safi, that's almost as much as I have in my I Rush Everything. Actually, that's more than I have in my I Rush Everything game, which in that game, aside from spending money, I also have been doing some minor donut farming since the burning bushes came back. But
well, when I watch the comments, I mean, there's people who still continue to farm at my levels and exceed them. I mean, you got people in the 70,000s. I've seen comments.
Yeah,
I know.
It's just it's a habit at that point. It's just something to do, something to keep you playing.
Yeah, I get it.
I got married, so
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
Try having 2 kids, see what happens.
No. God. You are both really making me bite my tongue hard here. This is not good. Okay.
So we did not do letter grades for the Christmas event. So, Pat, what's your letter grade?
Christmas event is a solid A for me.
Okay. Saf?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm including the burning bush, I'll give it a B. Without the burning bush, maybe a B minus.
Okay. I give it an A. I mean,
I have a sound for that, but anyway.
It's a good, I mean, I think ultimately the main events of 2020, there were no failures. I think that's the key takeaway. Every year we've had some really crappy events that have been like true failures. I think this year every event, maybe it was just because it was something to do. There were no like utter failures, I feel like. Some events weren't great, but every event had like a reason to like it, I feel like.
I think 2019 lowered the bar enough that we were pleased. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 2019 was just so like, oh my God, why am I still playing this? That it really was a thing where I felt like every one I was waiting for the letdown, and then it didn't really happen. I mean, the wrestling one was as close to a letdown as anything for me.
Game of games for me, but like Pat said, exactly. 2019, we had so much downtime; it was just ridiculous. And here, to get 6 5-week major events plus all the mini events, you just felt like you were engaged in the game all the time. Whereas like 2019, there were several days where I went a day or two without going into the game, which is something that's never happened since 2012. So. That wasn't the case this year. There was always a reason to go back into the game, and that's what you want as a player. So EA didn't disappoint this year in that regard.
I'm fascinated by the business aspect. I mean, it's like after the Disney thing, we all thought, okay, this is the end of the game. EA like stepped up and did a better job this year, but Gracie has to be involved with that for the writing. So there's some kind of a mutual decision. Look, let's go back and make this thing good again on, as much as they can. They're not spending a ton of money on programming. We know that. I mean, that's, as we found out with Bob, who wasn't Bob, who could have been Bob. That was my favorite thing of this last year. But anyway, that's a whole different gig. That was hilarious.
So last weekend, I threw up a poll real quick because I forgot to do it prior to that of the readers' favorite, least favorite, middle of the road multi-event of the year. So the responses to that, the favorite main event of 2020 from the readers was Clash of Creeds, the Christmas event, and that could be because the Black History event's pretty small in the scale on there, so it could just be a recency bias. The least favorite event was Simpsons Wrestling, so no surprise there. That was followed by Game of Games, so I think the readers are right in line with where we are. And their middle of the road event was pretty close between the Van Houtens and the Halloween event. So it seems like they're kind of pretty close to where we are in agreement there. Real quick, I want to just do a quick rundown of the mini events and then just say our favorite, least favorite, and middle of the road. Because I hate to leak. So those a lot of times sometimes the mini events are better than the main events. So it'd be a shame to skip those in our review. January, the mini event for January was Holidays of Future Past. That saw the prize track was South Pole, Lofts at Springfield Elementary, Heathrow Teleportation Departures, the Ultranet, Jeff and Skippy. The premiums were Retired Marge and Homer, and there was a lot of returning future Simpsons characters with that. March was No Bucks Given, which was the baseball-themed one. The prize track was the Isotope Stadium, Marriage Counseling, Couch World, Mitchell Mansion, and Buck Mitchell. The premium character with that was Tabitha Mitchell, and a lot of returning sports content with that. May was Pride 2020. That prize track was the public restroom with confusing signage, Curl Up and Die, Pride Car, Glamazon Marge, and Pride Homer. Premium with that was Mysterious Whalen. July was Summer Games 2020. That prize track included Dancing Children, Summer Games Headquarters, Patriotic Homer, Sports Winners Stand, and Stephanie Brockman. Premiums with that was the Summer Games Chairman. September was All This Jazz. That had Groove Tone Records, Marbles, The Spotted Cat, TikTok Simpsons, the Springfield Memorial Bridge. Premiums were Skinny Palmer and the Blues Vomitorium. And the last one of the year was Blarg's Giving, or the Thanksgiving event, which was in November. Prize track was Swapper Jacks, Time Travel Delivery Service, Jelly Monster, Jelly Can, Humanity's Hope. And the premium character with that was the Alien, the Blarg Alien, and the Blarg Huts. And that also included Black Friday, which had mystery boxes, and the Black Friday cash-only prize track, which was Homerland, Boob Tubery, Circuit Circus, and Catfish Lake, featuring the General. So who wants to go first on their favorite, least favorite, and middle of the road?
I'll go fat really quickly. My worst favorite was Blarg's Giving. I hated it. The stupid can, the giant whatever. It was so stupid. It's like, I don't care if it was canon or not canon. And again, the way they call canon, where it appeared for a blip and a half during a section of it, is stupid. Hated it. The middle one was the games. They were all right, but it was, again, it was mostly a rehash with extra content, an extra stadium. There's a lot of stadiums in our Springfield for how few people you have. But then maybe it's COVID time and they're only allowing 100 people in each stadium. I don't know. My favorite by a long shot, as far as the mini, was the All That Jazz, in that they had really fun items. For me, musically, it really hit a lot of buttons, keys, strings, whatever metaphor you want to use.
Notes.
And then
hit all the right notes.
All the right notes. Because we had been to New Orleans. It was great getting Spotted Cat. I just thought it was fun. And I always loved Bleeding Gums Murphy. He's one of my favorite characters. And to be able to have he and Lisa play on the bridge is just, it's wonderful to me. I think it's really touching and great. So there you go.
Staff?
I'm going to agree with Pat on the best and worst. All This Jazz was my favorite, definitely. And Blarg's Giving was my least favorite. Where I differ is the Summer Games as the middle of the road. I would say Summer Games is actually my second favorite, just because the dialogue I thought was really, really clever with in light of the Tokyo Olympics being postponed, and having Stephanie Brockman was also nice. And so that's pretty much the only difference. But otherwise, favorite was All This Jazz, and least favorite was Blarg's Giving as well.
Yeah, I think anytime you get a character, a freemium character in a prize track, it's always a good event. I agree. I think we're 3 for 3. All This Jazz, I think, hands down, best mini event. I may even go as far as to say it was the best update of the year. It was really good. It was really well written. The task at Springfield Memorial Bridge with Bleeding Gums and Lisa is awesome. It's really great. I enjoyed that immensely. He got a premium or a character on the prize track. Skinny Palmer as a premium was funny. The quest lines were funny. The dialogue was funny. I really enjoyed that one. I also agree. Least favorite, Blarg's Giving. It was terrible. There's no way around that. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So I mean, a jelly can as a prize. Come on. It doesn't even do anything. Like you tap on it, it doesn't do anything. So.
It's one of those things where you sit there and you wonder, how did they come up with this? How many episodes do we have? The wealth of stuff they could do, and they come up with a giant blob of.
It is
cranberry.
from Thanksgiving of Horror, I think, right? So it is like a newer thing, but at least in that episode, the jelly can does something. Like this one, it just sits there. So right. I mean, it was a waste of tapping, in my opinion.
It was my
middle of the road was No Bucks Given. I enjoyed it. It was good. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my least favorite. I enjoyed it though. It was fun. It was nice because they gave us a baseball update for opening day, and even though there was no opening day, at least we had some baseball. So I enjoyed that. The readers' picks for mini events, their favorite mini event by a wide margin. They all are in agreement with us. All This Jazz is their favorite. I honestly think, guys, that hands down is the best event of the year, or best update of the year, I should say. Their least favorite event, also by a wide margin, was the Pride event in May. And I was kind of saying, I wonder why that was. And as I'm looking at it, there were no characters on that. It was all skins. And that could be a big reason why it's, when you don't get a character with an event, it's kind of like, well, what the hell do I need this for? Especially if it's a costume for Marge and Homer, two of the most popular costumed characters.
No,
and their middle of the road is kind of pretty close to being a three-way tie. The leading middle of the road was the Summer Games event. That was followed by Blarg's Giving, and All This Jazz also came in as a middle of the road. So. It's interesting.
The readers are wrong. I'm just going to say it. The readers are wrong. They're idiots, and I give them a giant blob of cranberry as a prize. They
can have the jelly can as their consolation prize. Anyway. So, I mean, for the most part, though, I think we're in agreement with the readers. Maybe they're taking cues on their answering of poll questions from our post writing, because I think when we enjoy an event, it comes through in what we're writing. So that's a possibility.
I think the year ebbed and flowed too. So I think about May, and people didn't like, what was happening in May because we were all sick of the world in May. That's when we were really starting to feel, okay, we should be outside now doing this stuff, and we can't go anywhere because there's nothing to do. Don't let us go anywhere. So it was. Yeah, I remember May not being fun.
Hey, they opened up dining right before the weekend of my birthday, so I was still able to go out and enjoy a nice steak at Wolfgang's outside. So.
Yeah, we had so much dining that was kind of open, not open, open, not open, and the club has been a nightmare trying to do all the publicity stuff for that, because literally every week will be something, and then somebody will get COVID, and then we'll have to shut everything down, and then we'll bring it back up again. It's like, oh God,
We've been in a lockdown in Toronto since December 26th, so everything is shut down.
That was a whole year ago.
Yeah, not fun.
No. So, does anyone else have anything they would like to say about any of the events of 2020 in TSTO? Not events of the world.
No, I think it's interesting. Every year I am positive that it's the last year, and it would appear that not only the series, but the game is like infused with cockroach blood or something. You can't kill it. It doesn't go away. And the TV series is getting good again. I mean, I really look forward to watching it. And the game was, it's kind of stays at a level, but the fact that it came every single time like clockwork was really surprising. I was shocked after 2019, particularly. So we'll see. I mean, we could be doing this when I'm 75. I don't know. We'll see.
Listen, I said if I turn 40 and I'm still doing this website, I'm done. So I'll turn 40 before you turn 75.
But
still have a ways to go, guys. Don't panic. But
everybody will turn 40 before I'm 75. Anyway.
I'll differ with Pat's cockroach analogy in that, yes, the game is going on, the show's still going on. But for me, 2020 was an uptick for both. I feel like the show. Pat did say that the show was getting better, but I also thought like TSTO was better in 2020 than it was in 2019.
Well, 2019 was not exactly a banner year for the game. So
yeah, and I think the problem is those of us that have played for a long time, we have a much different high water mark and high bar back when they really cared. I mean, let's be honest about it, when they really cared. I mean, so the funniest thing about me doing the whole Bob series is that all it really does is kind of semi-reveal the what coulds have happened kinds of things of why it's really on the back burner. And when you actually say, well, yeah, it makes sense. It's one guy off in a room that no one remembers is in this room still programming it. That makes total sense because he only has a number of little quadrants of programming that he can keep reusing and changing. It makes total sense to me. So I kind of like take some kind of weird solace in that. But the writing is something that's a mystery to me. Somebody on the staff really gives a damn. It's really funny stuff. I don't think this is a bunch of writers. I think it's probably one or two writers that still get it. And it's not Selman, we know, because we saw him on the interview and he was like, is that still going? So anyway.
I will say you're right. The three of us, and you can throw Joe in the mix, have all been playing since 2012. So we have a really high mark for what's good in this game. And as I always say in my musing post before I do like a breakdown of an event, there's never going to be another Stonecutters. Stonecutters is always going to be the highest. So we have to stop comparing everything in terms of what used to be. So when you take that element out of it, this year has been phenomenal with events and updates. And the fact that they were regular in a time when I think a lot of people needed a distraction, even if it wasn't anything like great to, you're just sitting and tapping, there was no like extra things to do. It still was really nice to have the distraction and the regular updates. And it was like, we knew the pattern, we had the pattern down. So we kind of always knew when to expect something. So it was nice in a world and a year where we needed some regularity. EA gave it to us. I'll
go one step further with the game in that I've started playing a couple of other games just on the side for fun, whatever. This game is the brilliance of this game is that you can take it 3-4 days off and not lose anything. You still have the track. You still know what's going on. So it allows you to actually have a life. That's the key. You can actually go and do stuff and have a life and play the game and keep up on stuff. And if you donut farm, even if you lose a couple days, you can catch up really quickly, really easily. Mm-hmm. And if you know something's coming up that's going to, take up a ton of time, like Safi going off to whatever and me doing a funeral or whatever, it's like I can go way ahead and tap through and be done with the event and not sweat it. And know that I haven't missed anything, and it's great, and I got all the same enjoyment out of it that I would have if I'd gone in every day. So, I mean, that's kind of the brilliance of the game as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Saf, do you have any, overall parting thoughts for TSTO in 2020?
I think we've done a really good job of summing it all up. I mean, in a year of such unpredictability, it was nice to have something so predictable, so reliable, and hoping that they continue with that. I mean, it's always nice when they can infuse something new into it. I mean, at this stage of the game, it's not something that I'm expecting. Anything they do would be a wonderful, pleasant surprise. I hope they just don't give it to us in the spoilers that, hey, we're going to get riddles. Get my hopes up a little bit, but yeah. In our little package that we get, but yeah. No, it's... I've been pretty happy with just in general, behind the scenes, getting our updates before events. It's been a little bit better this year than it was last year as well. So overall, things are looking good.
Yeah, I don't think people realize for the longest time that EA started sending us packets a little bit in advance. Then they were like a day in advance. Then they were the day of. Then they were the day after. The second half of this year, we got a new EA rep. And they started sending us the packets a week plus in advance, which is awesome, but it's also very difficult not to be able to tell you guys what's going on. So we get all this content and we're like, oh, it's going to be so good. And then I can't say anything.
Well, the difference is a couple of the other associates were, you could tell they hardly knew what was going on in the game. There was like, this is what they told me to say. I don't really know what's happening. I don't know who these characters are. But there's a title thing that happens at these companies, and this new one they're calling an associate producer, which I know from the CBS world that my daughter works in. That's a step up. We got a pay grade person there somewhere that actually knows what's going on, and so they may be coming from Gracie. That may be the interchange between whatever. But yeah, the packets have been on time. They're exactly on the button, except for Safi's point of,
And when they changed the dates at Christmas, that was not cool. It was in that packet. Yeah. It was also in the game files, and I was all waiting for the event to hit. Everything was pre-written. I'm sitting here going do, and it didn't hit. So
and I was very happy that I didn't care. I missed the date.
You're welcome.
I missed the date entirely, and just did a division by 9 days, knowing that that's been the cycle. For the last, I don't know how long, it's been 9 days. And so I just did the math on the spreadsheet with 9 days, put it in, and I was right.
So
hilarious.
So a big shout out to, and I'm going to say her name, a big shout out to Kat, our EA rep, for getting us the information, being on top of things, answering questions. It's awesome. We really appreciate it. It helps us help you guys play the game, and it helps us help EA make the game fun for people. So with that, as always, guys, thank you for being a part of the Addicts community in 2020. I know it was a hell of a year. Hopefully we provided you guys with some entertainment and enjoyment, and we will continue to do that until I turn 40, I guess. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the community. We hope you guys have an awesome 2021. Here's to getting vaccinated and being able to have a normal life again. I really miss Disney. Anyone else have any parting thoughts?
I've ruined lemon drops for myself. My daughter actually made lemon drops when she came to visit, and I almost couldn't drink it because I was worried about throwing it in someone's face. So the whole Bob thing still cracks me up. That that poor person, whoever they were, that was so offended that I'd thrown this drink in this non-person's face.
And if you guys missed Pat's I will link it in the show notes because it is pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
Any parting thoughts, Saf?
No, just want to wish everyone a safe and happy 2021, and hopefully things are on the upswing for the game, for the TV show, and for life in general.
Can't get any worse. Yay!
Don't say that. So,
all right.
With that being said, we're going to say goodbye. So again, thank you for being a part of the community. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys on the next Addicts Live.
Right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.